Hey everyone, Alec from Shade Gaming here. I recently had a discussion with someone arguing that player skill is a necessary requirement to pushing higher content, which I took to mean that in order to be successful in WoW, skill is a key factor. I found the comment interesting and I thought it warranted a deeper dive. This discussion will be a little different from our typical healer content, however I think this is of particular interest to the newer healers out there, or players trying to improve, since I feel there's often unnecessary stress around the expectations of being great because of the perceptions of those players with the highest mythic plus keys and other achievements. Before we get started, please like the video and consider subscribing if you find my content helpful or interesting. So how do we define success and skill in the confines of a game like WoW? In minigames, success equates to beating the game. However, since WoW is not a game that you necessarily beat, it makes it harder to define. So what does success mean then? Does it mean being number one in content such as arenas, Mythic Plus, Raid World First, or something else? Could it mean being the first person to complete a task or activity such as collecting mounts, finishing achievements, or being the first person to max out a character at the start of a new expansion? Unfortunately, success is harder to define for WoW because it looks different for each and every player and is centered around the player's goals for the game. For the sake of this video, the most important takeaway is that you should really look at what success looks like for you, as it will help you center your gameplay, experience, and overall enjoyment. So what about skill? Unlike success, skill is something that I think can be more easily defined and measured. As I thought about this concept in WoW, I came up with the following definition. Skill is the ability to consistently react to unexpected situations in a way that leads to positive outcomes. As we look at this definition, I really want to focus on the word consistency. Consistency is important because if a player is unable to consistently react to unexpected situations, then we might easily just say that it was out of luck or that the person was being carried by the group. Let's also try to look at content and where skill may or may not be involved to understand how important it really is. I know I'm going to get flack for this, but I would argue that PvP is the only content in WoW where skill is actually required. Sure, it helps to have skill in PvE related content, but in PvP it's essential. The reason I say this is because it's the only content where every single time you queue up for an arena or raid a battleground, the situation is different. You play against other players of varying skill that all react in different ways. In PvP, you have to understand every class, skills, and anticipate how players might react to your skills, and then determine your reactions in turn. Now you're probably saying, well, what about Mythic rating and the highest levels of Mythic Plus? I would say that skills only are required in the upper echelon of this content. I think that if someone has a desire to push this content and is willing to put in the effort, that they can succeed at a majority of it through sheer time and practice playing. Unlike PvP, rating and Mythic Plus content such as boss and mob abilities is static, meaning that you can learn every mechanic for every mob and boss and then continue to practice until you master them. Unexpected situations only come into play based on your group. For example, a player may face pull a mob while the tank is already engaged in the next group that your team was planning to pull. The skill comes from your experience dealing with similar situations and understanding how to manage them. Overall, I believe that if you have the desire to push higher content, or to get better in general, time and effort far outweigh general skill and will be enough to get you there. So why does this really matter? I think that many players new to healing or trying to get better end up spending too much time looking at the top 5 to 10% player base and expecting to match them right away. What people tend to fail to realize is that those players all had a starting point and had the desire to put in the work to get to where they are. You shouldn't worry too much about being perfect or hitting that level of play in any given sort of content when first starting out, and I think that feeling that pressure can lead to a general discontent with the game and causes players to quit, especially in an expansion where there's already so much emphasis on other players doing their job correctly that are outside of your control as a healer. I fully believe that if you have a desire to hit a certain goal in the game and you're willing to put in the time and effort to get better, then skill is a minimal consequence. Skill will come as you experience the content and learn from your failures. Don't worry about being bad or average at the start. I would argue that even the best players out there didn't start immediately great. They failed and spent the time necessary to improve their knowledge of their class and the content that they play. So let me know what you think. How important is skill in WoW? Am I completely wrong in my review? Is there a better way to look at it? Or am I right about everything as always? I'm interested to see your comments and what additional discussions this video might bring up. I anticipate that there might be some heated emotions, but I think that is important for the game overall. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.